So if there's one thing we can all agree on within the fishing industry, it's that we're all very opinionated. So for me personally, when the dice craze took off, I couldn't stand it. I thought this was the dumbest looking little thing. I've avoided it for a very, very long time. Well, I have made some. I went out and tested it, and I'm a little bit annoyed, and I'll explain why. So I woke up this morning around 2:45, 3 o'clock in the morning, got everything loaded up in the boat, went out to the lake. I threw everything in my boat this morning for probably 3 or 4 hours without a bite. I threw everything: crankbaits, buzzbaits, spinnerbaits, chatterbaits, shaky heads, wobblehead, Texas rig, everything I could think of, could not get a bite. So then I pick up this stupid little dice and threw it on a drop shot. Immediately started catching fish and caught fish the rest of the day while I was out there. Now, it's very annoying because I still don't like the idea of these little dice and how something so unique, I'll call it, works so incredibly well. Well, if you're like me and you're not sure if you're going to like that kind of technique, I didn't want to go out and spend a lot of money on a really nice mold like Epic Bait Mold's dice mold. I wanted to see if I was going to like this technique or not. So what I did, I started searching on Amazon. I found a silicone mold, and you can pour a ton of baits for next to nothing. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring you guys along, show you how you can make these little dice baits very cheap, because if there's one thing about being annoyed with using a bait like this is I want you guys to be annoyed with me. So let's get over here and get started. So here is our little mold. So what this is, it's actually an ice cube tray. So you get these on Amazon in a 2-pack for like 14 bucks. It's 84 cavities in each one, so you can pour as many of these as you want. And sticking with the theme of doing this all on a budget to see if we like it, just grab some remelt to get remelted and see. I would assume this is just some variation of Lure Works Violet. I don't really know. But we're just going to melt this back down. We'll pour a few, and I'll show you how I make them and how I fish them. So we've got our plastic melted back down, and we're keeping this simple. I'm not going to vacuum it or nothing, but you can see it's just a nice purple color. Like I mentioned, I would assume this is some variation of Lure Works Violet. That's a color I use a lot. The one thing I am going to do to this is I'm going to take some of this mocha glitter in the .035 size. I'm going to add a 1/4 teaspoon to that. We've only got about half a cup of plastic. I might even add a little more because I do want a lot of that glitter, but we'll see where a 1/4 gets us. Yeah, I think I want just a little bit more, not quite another full 1/4, maybe half of that. So let's go, yeah, about half a scoop. I think that'll be pretty good. And that's it, guys. We're just super simple. Like I said, this is only about half a cup of plastic, and I bet I could pour all 84 of those if I really wanted. I'm not going to because I don't want to thread that many skirts through it, but super simple. So let's get over here and pour a few. All right, guys, our plastic's around 325 degrees. Now, we're not going to overcomplicate this. I'm not going to try to pour each one individually and stop. All I'm going to do is just start pouring, and when it gets to the top, go to the next. Now, all we're going to have to do is clean that little bit off from where we go from cavity to cavity. It's not perfect. If you guys are looking for perfect baits, or if you're trying to sell these baits, I would recommend just buying Epic's dice mold. This particular ice cube tray that I'm using is going to be closer to their 1/2 inch size if you're curious about the sizing of things. But we're just going to pour a few more of these, and then I'll show you how I put the skirt tabs through there. So these molds will take a little bit longer to cool off than an aluminum mold. So while we're waiting, I'll show you what I got. So these are just embroidery needles in a size 20. For anyone that's wondering, the eyelet on that one is just the right size for the skirt tabs to fit through. Now what I do for these skirt tabs is I'll fold them in half like this, and then I'll stick my scissors, see if I can get it to where you can see. I'll stick my scissors through there and cut it to where I'm splitting that skirt tab in half. Then I just come back up here, cut the top of those tabs off, and then you're left with all of these little strands. So you're basically using half a strand for each one of the pieces that you're threading through the dice. And like I mentioned earlier, these little ice cube trays come in a pack of 2, so I just take all the skirt material that I'm using, all the pieces that I cut, and just lay it across one. That silicone is kind of sticky for those skirts, so they're not sliding all over the place. So I think our mold is about cooled off enough, so we're going to grab a few, and we're going to make some of these in a peanut butter and jelly variation. So just like with any silicone mold, I can take my finger on the bottom and just kind of push up on the bottom of the mold and pop these little things right out. They pop out super easy. I'm not going to pull all of them out. I'll just get enough to where we can go ahead and get started. And then from where I went from cavity to cavity, you can see right here there are those little bitty pieces of flashing. If you're concerned about it, you can take your scissors, just kind of snip those off real quick, and then you're left with a nice little dice. Alright, and for our skirt material, there's really no method to the madness, but what I do on this particular mold, so you can see right here, you kind of have that like domed portion on one side, and then on the other side, you're going to see it's kind of sunk in a little from where the plastic cools off. So what I do on that side, so the strands that are going through the dome and the little caved in portion, I just put 2 pieces of skirt material kind of through the corners of those. Now, since I just recently poured these, this plastic's still going to be a little sticky. But I'm just going to take my little half strand of skirt material. I'm going to pull it through about that far. There's really no measurement to it for me. And then just slowly pull that through. That's going to get it about halfway. If you need to adjust it a little, you can just pull on your skirt just a little bit and kind of center it. So what I'm going to do, I use 10 strands total. I'm going to put 2 on this side and then 4 on each of the edges. I'm not going to bore you with that. I'll go ahead and thread them all through and show you the final result. So these are some of the colors I've made. I've already tried the Morning Dawn, Green Pumpkin, the Pearl White, and the Purple. And then here's that little PB&J pattern that we just made up today. And now I want to show you guys a trick on how I rig these and just give you a little tip on anyone who's curious about how to rig up a drop shot. So for this size of dice, I've been using a 1/0 Owner Mosquito Light hook. I'm going to take that hook, and I'm using some colorful braid, but I always throw this on fluorocarbon. And what I'm going to do, I don't know how well you guys are going to be able to see this, but I'm just going to tie a polymer knot on this hook. Now, when it comes to tying a drop shot, you'll hear people talk about the direction of tying your knot. I'm just going to tie this real quick. I'm sure all of you know how to tie a polymer knot. I'm going to tie that real quick, cinch it down. Now, you've got your main line here and your tag end down here. Now, the way I tied it, the hook point is facing up. However, if you tie it and your hook point is facing down, take your tag end, run it back through the eye of your hook, and it will pull that hook point straight up every single time. So as you're fishing, the hook point is facing up. And almost every single fish that I caught using this technique, that hook was right in the roof of their mouth. And then you just take whatever weight you're going to use, snap it onto the bottom, and you're good to go. You can see with the weight down at the bottom and the hook at the top, that hook point is facing upwards. Now, one extra step that I like to do. So as I mentioned at the beginning, you've got that domed side and the cupped side. The reason I only put 2 strands in there is because I like to take these little centering pins. I got these on Amazon super cheap. I'll link them down below. But I'm going to screw that centering pin right down through the domed portion of the bait. I'm going to screw it all the way in. So you can see here, I've got that screw screwed all the way into the bait with just that little bit of that eyelet sticking out. Then I'm going to take that drop shot hook and I'm just going to hook it right through the edge of the plastic and right through that eyelet. And that is a super strong connection. And like I said, every single fish that I've caught, the hook point has been right in the roof of the mouth. Fantastic hookup ratios. I know this bait is kind of silly. I was against it for a very long time, but this is one of the most fish catching baits I've used in a long time. And there you have it, guys. That is how I've been making these little dice lately. Like I said, I was against this technique for a very long time. I just thought it was silly and kind of gimmicky, but I can tell you this catches fish. And I haven't done anything crazy. I've only used remelt, some extra skirt tabs I had laying around. Everything that I bought for this was less than $20 total. So super cheap way to get started, see if you guys like it. And then if you do like it, I would recommend going with a nice mold like Epic Bait Mold's CNC mold. If you're planning on selling or anything, or you're just really picky and want your baits perfect, I would go that route. Like I mentioned, they have a couple sizes. I would get the smaller of the two, the 1/2 inch size. That's about what these are. I haven't tried the larger sizes. They might work just as well. I don't know. But that's how I've been making it. If you guys are still holding out and don't want to throw this technique, I commend you. If you are going to give in like I did and try it, this is a super simple and cheap way to get started, and it catches fish. Hopefully you guys liked this video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you on the next one.